Now, America's most exciting radio talk show. The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was talking today about the fix being in about tonight's debate. I spent 1 hour proving to you beyond a reasonable doubt, I believe I did, that the fix is in advance. I told you about media bias. I exhibited the fact that the mall shooter on Saturday, who shot 4 women in cold blood, was declared to be an Hispanic when in fact he turned out to be a Muslim immigrant. There were no apologies from the rats and vermin in the media. I then went on to talk about tonight's debate and the moderator. I learned at the end of the first hour that a coup has been conducted on my largest affiliate. In fact, one of the jerks, a former McDonald's manager, the other a communist lawyer, was gloating on air saying that they conducted a coup at WABC by knocking me off the air on this all-important day. I am Michael Savage. I am one of the most important voices in the conservative movement and have been for 22 years. And I will say once again, I am outraged by this maneuver on the part of the company that makes a fortune off my talent, and I will not tolerate it. And if those of you who are listening to this program are as equally upset by this coup as stated by one of these McDonald's managers or communists who they're using instead of me, Michael Savage, I suggest you send an email to the management team at WABC and to Cumulus. Now, that's all I'm going to say in this matter at this point. Further than this, you'll hear more about it in the media because I'm not taking this standing down. In fact, if it keeps up, you won't be hearing from me anymore because there's only so much I'm going to take. There's only so much crap and garbage I will take from the very people who are destroying this country. You think there's no media bias? You just heard about media bias. You heard media bias that exceeds all the media bias you're going to see tonight. My most important affiliate in New York City, where I am #1 in ratings by a land mile, especially from these two clowns. Take a look at their ratings and compare them to mine. Ask yourself what rational program director would replace two clowns with low ratings by the highest rated show on the station unless the program director himself is behind the bias. And I'm saying it like it is. I don't give a damn anymore. I'm not taking this. I don't even know if I can continue the show. I'm so upset. I canceled the trip that was scheduled for tomorrow. My family is flying to New York City. All the plans were made, and I said to the network, I cannot go tomorrow because my audience expects me to be on the air tomorrow to talk about tonight's debate. I canceled that trip with my family to the East Coast for my audience. And this is what I got in return? 2 people gloating that a coup was conducted on WABC? Do you understand why some of the liberals in my own network don't want you to hear what I am saying in the biggest market that I have? And why they will try to preempt me tomorrow in the biggest market that I have, replacing me with a clown with a red beret who worked at McDonald's, who has no education whatsoever, and another one who's an absolute communist from the get-go, in my estimation, worked for William Kunstler, if you can believe that, the worst lawyer in the history of America. That's who they're replacing me with on a day like this? Why am I telling you this? Because I'm outraged, #1. And #2, it shows that I'm 1,000% right when I tell you about the media bias. It's starting with me. It is starting with Michael Savage. Now, this is a very, very important point that I'm going to make. I'm going to make it again. I was talking about media bias in the first hour. I told you that the game is stacked against Trump. I told you that virtually everybody in the media is a liberal. Nobody notified me in advance. They sneakily preempted my show on my largest affiliate, where, by the way, I have the highest ratings on the station, and the 2 clowns they put in, without telling me, have extremely low ratings, by the way. Now, if they want to put a McDonald's manager who wears a red beret on and a communist lawyer, in my estimation, who worked with William Kunstler, one of the worst leftists in the history of America, that is their prerogative during hours that I am not on. Do you know that they're not even talking about debate right now? They're talking about Syria. These 2 clowns are talking about Syria. So for them to say they're doing it because it's debate talk is a lie. It is a lie, lie, lie. And I'm going to make a statement right now. If they do this to me again tomorrow, and they did it to me, by the way, without any notice, make a note of this because you may not hear me tomorrow or ever again. I want you to understand the kind of duress I'm under. after achieving so much and winning the Radio Hall of Fame award and knocking a bestseller out of the park, if this is the best that Westwood One and Cumulus Media can do to me, and they do it to me again tomorrow, I will not be on the air on Wednesday. You will not hear from me. I can guarantee you that I will not be on this program again. Let the chips fall where they may. I will not live like this. I don't need the money, and I don't need the pain, and I don't need to be undermined by people who live off me. How's that? Does that make any sense to you? How do you feel about them preempting me without notice? I could see them going to a news show, an all-news show. We're back on the air. Apparently there was a glitch. We think there was a technical glitch. I kind of doubt it. I was taken off the air, or there was a glitch. Let's put it to you that way. So if you want to know if there's media bias tonight, you don't have to look any further than this show. 100 million viewers, and on the eve of the most important debate in history, bigger than the Lincoln-Douglas debates, they take off a man like me who has just won the National Radio Hall of Fame award and replace me with a man who worked at McDonald's and another man who worked for a communist lawyer named William Kunstler. This is sabotage. Do you understand what sabotage is? Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a lot of difficulties right now. We don't know whether it is, let us say, an electronic quirk. We do not know if there is tampering going on with my program. The only thing we know for sure is that without any notice whatsoever, not so much as an email to my producer before the show, did my syndicator send a note saying they were preempting me today with two very distinguished talk show hosts who have very low ratings. One managed a McDonald's stand, and the other one worked for William Kunstler, the most leftist lawyer in the history of America. I understand they just called Trump an egomaniac in my airtime, during my airtime on WABC. Now, I got to say to you again, I started the show by talking about tonight's debate, The Fix is In. I laid out a very careful case for this, explaining to you how they did it to Mitt Romney with Candy Crowley. I explained how they picked Lester Holt and why, what was this for. I had no idea that this would come home to me. I had no idea that behind my back, the people who make millions of dollars a year off my talent and your listenership would do a thing like this to me. Now, if my ratings were marginal or low on WABC, there might be an argument. And if these guys had high ratings and they were very intelligent. The fact is that the Savage Nation with Michael Savage on New York's WABC has an astonishing, huge lead over everybody on that station, both in 12 plus and in 2554 numbers. And the sad truth is that the two geniuses that they put on in a 2554 ratings, I can't give you the exact numbers, have about 40% fewer listeners than I do. And the same number is about the same when it comes to 12 plus, meaning 12 and older, who listen to the Savage Nation. I can't give you the numbers. Again, I think I am prohibited. But my numbers are at least almost double these clowns. So the only reason they preempted me is to prevent me from talking about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, in my estimation. That shows you the bias of the program director and the people I'm working with. You don't know anything about any of the fights I've had over the last 2 years, nor what I had to go through to renew this contract. You have no idea what forces there are aligned against the truth in every sphere of the media. But I think today, those of you who are listening understand very clearly, if perhaps for the first time, that the fairness doctrine is already in operation on WABC in New York.